Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 404 of the Drunk District Podcast. I'm your host, as always. I'm Tyler. Joining me with the man, the myth, the legend himself, Sir Colonel Gables. What's up, buddy?
Cookies and dowels. Cookies and dowels.
Oh, you got cookies?
No, this is a figure of speech. But anyway, I am doing pretty good at this moment in time. I have been going and playing a bunch of different games because I've been looking for that next big game I wanted to go through and dive into since the start of the year. And because my whole work thing and stuff is situating rather nicely, started looking at the backlog, started looking at the stuff that was available locally. So I went ahead, I did pick up the last DLC pass for Dragon Ball FighterZ, the Season 3 pass, and I was having a chance to try out the characters that I got from it today. On top of that, I've been going with a whole bunch of different ways that I'm going to be going through and addressing some of the games that I've been playing for my backlog. But other than that, I'm doing fantastic. How are you, Tyler?
Doing all right, just clinging and banging as always, working. It was nice having last week. I had Friday and Sunday off, so that was a nice little 2 out of 3 days off. And now I was just getting back to the grind of things. There's no more holidays until Memorial Day, so that's depressing, but doing okay. Otherwise, got myself a little this little Fitbit watch.
Yeah.
Like a cheapo one is like $40. Just because I'm walking a lot more now, being a lot more active with my job I have, my jobs I have, and so I was like, I want to kind of get an idea how much walking and stuff I'm doing, and also I've had I really don't have much of a sleep schedule anymore. I haven't figured that I don't know. My hours have changed a few times, so it's like you get used to the sleep schedule, and then it changes. So it's like I'm just trying to get used to trying to figure out an idea and see how much sleep I'm actually getting. And this thing tracks your sleep and all that, and then it tracks even when you wake up. So I've only had it a couple days now, but it's been utterly fascinating and depressing to look that up on the app. To see how often I wake up at night, but I'm doing okay. Just having fun. Today was a good day. I got to sit down and watch some playoff football. Get to watch three games on. It's the first year they had 7 teams from each conference in the playoffs. So
yeah, rather nice.
So 3 games in a row. 2 days, for the last 2 days. So that's been pretty nice. Just 10 straight hours of football. So when I was at work yesterday, in between deliveries, I was pulling my phone and folding boxes and shit and watching the games. So that was nice. Otherwise, it's been a little upsetting because the Browns-Steelers game has been pretty lackluster. It's exciting for about 15 minutes, and then Cleveland just took a 35-point lead. So
can we just say
it's just been?
Can we just say in this moment in time that for once, I'm at a loss of words because of an NFL team that's blowing another team out because it's the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
It's the Cleveland Browns blowing out the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm trying to look at the freaking score right now, but
it's 35-16 in the Roethlisberger almost threw another pick. But anyways, Browns have, for people that don't know, Browns haven't been to the playoffs since 2002, so 19 years, and haven't won a playoff game since 1994.
And the fun fact,
27 years.
Fun fact: the last 2 playoff appearances that they've had, lost both against the Steelers.
Yep, and also another not so fun fact. The Browns play the Steelers every year in Pittsburgh and have not beaten the Steelers in Pittsburgh since 2003. So a lot of streaks being broken tonight, possibly, as long as they can hold on. But it's funny we talk about this now, but by the time this comes out, everybody's already know what happened.
It's kind of like what I told my dad while that game was playing, and I look at the score, and he's telling me, hey, look at this game. 28-0 at that point in the first quarter. Then I go forth and I just test him hey, you watch. It's either the Browns are going to the next round, or we're gonna have the most colossal playoff loss, colossal loss in playoff history.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's I said something because I'm like in the Talking Ship group where I'm in the Facebook messaging group about football, and I said I don't know would be more entertaining, the Steelers with a crazy comeback or the Browns just keep running up the score, because the Browns are due for a game like this. So hopefully
No doubt.
they don't blow it. But yeah, I'm 5-0 in picks this week going into this game, and I actually picked the Steelers. So I mean, also on top of all that, the Browns, they're like 6 players are out and 4 coaches are out, including their head coach, because they all got COVID. So they haven't been able to practice all week. So on top of that, yeah, fucking crazy circumstances. But yeah, just enjoying watching football and all that fun jazz. So one thing I did do is we had our, people don't know, or if you don't, I don't know why the fuck you haven't gone back and listened to them, because it was really good. But we did our top 10 games for 2020 a few weeks ago, the day after Christmas, and so we actually had a couple weeks off from doing the show, and we actually could have taken this week off, but Gables hit me up. He's like, I want to record that. I'm like, fuck yeah, let's do it. That's how much we love doing it. We don't even have to, and we still do it. So every year, I usually what I do is like, I'll just do like, so my number 10 game this year was Street Rage 4. So that's 1 point. My game of the year, spoiler alert, if you haven't gone back and listened to it yet, is Last of Us Part 2. So that's worth 10 points. So typically what I do is I'll like combine all the scores together, and then like I'll do a top 10 list of our scores combined. But I tried doing it and it just didn't work out because we only had 3 games in common. And it was the same thing last year. We only had 1 game in common. So like last year, I was like, all right, Until Goose Game was our game of the year, because it was your number 2 or your number 3 and my number 2. This year we had 3 games in common. We had Street Rage 4. I had it at 10. You had it at 6.
I think it was 7.
Did I write it down wrong? I have it written down here as 6. So 6 or 7. Look. Yeah, I wrote it down at 6. Maybe I'm wrong though. But anyways, Battletoads, I had it at 6. You had it at 9, and then Ghost of Tsushima, you had it at 2, and I had it at 7. So with that, Ghost of Tsushima was our game of the year for 2020 at Drunk Nesters. So I'll be sending them a trophy here soon with our logo. I'm not going to do that. We don't have that. If we had one of those, I would have that. So, but I'll just like make a paper mache game awards, and I'll send it to them. Yeah, that is our game of the year. I was trying doing like the whole points thing, but I'm like, this is kind of dumb, just because like, you're like, all right, so Last of Us get 10 points. Then it was Persona 5 Royal also gets 10. We had a bunch of games just tied for places because we didn't have anything. We didn't only have those 3 games in common, and 2 of those games were both in our bottom 5. So yeah, that's why Ghost of Tsushima is our game of the year. But yeah, that was kind of cool. But it was a good show. Good shows, I should say. We did 3 of them that night, and we both had a lot of fun doing it. And another thing I did a little differently than I've done every other year is I really like the way where we did our show this year, where we were good, I think, on how much time we spent talking about our picks for our games, and like we slowly spent more time as the shows went on, like especially when we got to that bottom 3, we both spent a decent chunk of time talking about when you get to that point, these games, there's a reason why they're in your top 3, but especially when we got to number 1, you and I both spent about 15 minutes each talking about why Persona 5 Royale is your game of the year, and I spent a good chunk of time talking about why Last of Us Part 2 is my game of the year. So actually, so they're in the main show, but I actually took just cut those parts out for each of us, and I put them and made them their own separate file. So those will be going up. So if for whatever reason you didn't listen to the whole show, or don't want to listen to our personal top 10 lists, but you want to hear go in depth why we love those games as much as we do, I put them in there separately, so they'll be on YouTube and everywhere. But if you want to just hear that chunk of us talking about our game of the year, those will be out there. I think Gables will come out on, well, they'll both be out by the time I guess you'll be hearing this, because I think they're one's coming out here in a few hours, and the other one's going to come out the day after that. So by the time this is out, they should both be out. Yeah, go back if you don't want to listen to the whole top 10 list, or didn't want to listen to the part 2, because I broke them up in 2 parts like we always do, go and just check out that part, because I think we both did some of our best work talking about those games being our game of the year. But anyways, Gables, it's 2021 now. It's holidays are over, unfortunately, as much as I love having the time off and having time with the family and rest and relax. Not substantial about the news this week. We've had a few, one pretty, I would say pretty decent side news, but nothing really major. But we have some fun stuff we can talk about here in a little bit. But I wanted to start off with one of the bigger ones here is Nintendo buys Next Level Games. No idea. I don't think there was a price point out there yet. But basically, Next Level Games, they made the last game they made was Luigi's Mansion 3, which I think in the first week sold more than the first 2 games did combined. So doing really well for them. It sold almost 8 million copies as of November. Luigi's Mansion 3 has, and was nominated for the Game Awards and won a couple awards at DICE and BAFTA. But studio's been around since 2002. They've been working with Nintendo for a while. They made Punch Out for the Wii. They made Luigi Mansion's Dark Moon for 3DS. They also made the Metroid. What was that game called? The really bad Metroid Federation Force. Which that game, from everything we heard going into it, I think, or coming out of it, was that wasn't really their fault. It was just more they were making a game and Nintendo's making Metroid. So that's how it got made. But the deal will be closed by March 1st. But Nintendo, I mean, like I said, it sounds like they pretty much been just working almost exclusively with them for a long time now. So now it's just they also made Super Mario Strikers. I wanted to mention that. I still want that. Give me that. Just make that game again, please. But I mean, they've been working with them for a long time now. They officially own them. What was your thoughts on this, Gables?
Actually, it was an excellent acquisition by Nintendo. Not only did it solidify having them hook, line, and sinker as one of their first-party studios, because they had been essentially doing second-party style of work, obviously. Other major hits as a company on Nintendo platforms that were like what you were mentioning, in terms of Punch-Out for the Wii, and also in terms of Mario Strikers for the GameCube, and also the Strikers Charge for Wii as well. Not to mention the Luigi Mansion, Dark Moon and Luigi's Mansion 3. Excellent stuff. It was one of the announcements that took me by surprise, because I had personally thought that Nintendo already had Next Level Games, but apparently that's not the case. But then again, I keep remembering that they go through and they go to specific companies to license out certain bits of their licensing franchises and stuff in order to essentially see what they would do with them. I mean, I know Nintendo's done that in the past with other companies like Koei Tecmo and and I know some other games and other game companies as well. But I really thought this was a great decision on them, because the quality of the games that Next Level Games have been producing, not only on the Switch but in previous Nintendo platforms, is enough to where it justifies just locking them down, so that way, say, a Sony or a Microsoft's not going to come ahead and swoop under, because you know how busy it seems like both of those major companies are going through and acquiring studios, especially Microsoft. But at the same point, I like what Nintendo's doing with it. I hope they go through and secure another studio quite essentially soon, because I would rather have them go through and secure what works, what gaming development studios that work well with their brand and stuff. I wish they would secure them now, considering how successful the Switch has been this generation. But what was you thinking?
Yeah,
Tyler?
no, I agree. Oh, yeah, sorry, but I agree. That it was a good idea to snatch them, especially because it was out. They mentioned the people that own the company wanted to sell, so it sounds like they just right now they're probably worth more than they ever have been, probably ever will be. I've come off the hit of Luigi Mansion 3, and it's smart. Like I said, it's the big thing now is Microsoft kind of kicked that off where you gotta buy in. You can't just keep working with them and you having this working relationship, because eventually someone will just come in and buy them, And we've seen like PlayStation buy Insomniac lately. We've seen Microsoft buy like a dozen new studios. They bought Bethesda. So yeah, it makes sense. I mean, especially when they when their next level games is saying they want to sell. Yeah, you just need to buy them. I don't know. They probably wouldn't have bought them otherwise, but I think it's a good idea. I think it's smart. Keep that stuff in house, and it's easier to just buy these guys that are good instead of just making your own next level games for Nintendo. It'd be it's a lot cheaper and easier. When you would have everything in place. It's like just keep doing what you're doing, and here's a bunch of money. I think it's interesting too that like this is Nintendo's first time buying a studio since Monolith back in 2007. So that's stunning. That's the case. But because I don't think I think they own parts of like they own a bit of not Rocksteady, Retro Games. So I don't know. Maybe it'd be smart to like finally just snatch them up as well. I don't know why they haven't already. If that's the case, just or at least get majority ownership of them. But yeah, I think it's smart, especially because like this is like their own. This is their first their first Western studio they've ever owned as well. I think that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, that is a big deal.
That's they've worked with that. They've worked with other ones, but they've never actually owned one before. So I think that's pretty crazy that they actually now have a Western studio. So yeah, I think it's smart. It's a good idea. The games they made I really enjoy, especially like Super Mario, like we were talking about Super Mario Strikers. I told the story a long time before, but I used to play that game and listen to Genesis for some reason. I don't know why. I remember like for a whole summer I played Super Mario Strikers over and over again and listened to Genesis. I don't know why I did it, but that's just what happened. I went through like a weird stage in my life listening to Genesis. But yeah, I love if they made another one. Or just I don't know. But yeah, it's awesome. I hope they make a Luigi Mansion 4 because I love that game. It was high up on my game of the year for last year. I think it's it's sneakily one of the best Switch games that you can play on that console. So, and I know it's sold almost 8 million copies, but not enough people have played it. But moving on to some Sony and PlayStation news. Sony announced they stopped production on all PS4s except for the Slim. The PS4 Pro is no longer being made, and the 1 terabyte PS4 is no longer being made. It's only going to be the PS4 Slim with the 500 gigabytes. And this is something, I mean, you actually brought it to my attention about a month ago, where you had heard that like on the PlayStation website, like PS4 Pro was sold out and stuff like that, and there was no news of them making any more. And it's just like, did they quietly stop development on them? Because that was like Microsoft had announced I want to say in like July or August that they stopped production on everything but the Xbox One S. And like so the One X is done, and there's the SAT edition Xbox One is done. So yeah, so they officially announced they're no longer developing them or producing them, so they can focus more on the PS5 production, which I think is smart. The PS5 is probably one of the hottest items out there right now to get outside the COVID vaccine, and they just can't make them fast enough. Right. It'd be hard enough to make them in a normal year, but especially right now. So it makes sense to, and I'm sure they share parts, even though I know they're different consoles, but they probably have some of the same things. So opens up production lines, less items, because they're already fighting with cell phone companies, freaking NVIDIA graphic cards, Xbox for a production line, and I'm sure materials. So it makes, instead of competing with yourself. And somebody brought up a good point on Twitter when this news came out, and they said that like if the PS4 Pro was really selling super well, Sony would talk about that and they would give out numbers. And I don't know if they've ever really have. I'm sure in the beginning maybe they did, but I don't really feel like, whenever they announce sales, they never break it down by, Pro and regular PS4.
They just
so I
go
wonder,
with just individual PS4. It never has been separated into regular and Pro.
Yeah, which I don't know if that's the norm. I guess because I know like Nintendo counts Game Boy and Game Boy Color as one console, even though they're not. And I don't think they actually. I don't know if that number is out there. I have to look at that as far as like what sold what. But I feel like though if the Pro was super successful, they would say we sold 15 million or 20 million, and maybe they haven't. I don't know. I mean, I know pros have been hard to come by the last 6 months or so, and maybe that them slowing down production now stopping it is a big reason why. It's like I got a pro sitting over there. I wonder how much money that thing might be worth here soon. But yeah, I think it makes sense. You know, I mean, it's it seems kind of early to like start shutting stuff down, but I think where we're at right now, where it feels like the new consoles are, you know, it's always the new consoles come out always are the hot items that everybody wants, but uh, it feels like now more, maybe it's just more of the media age, and also the fact that COVID and gaming is probably is doing the best it's ever done because of large part because of COVID, people being stuck at home. That it's just it makes sense to like, all right, let's just shut this stuff down a little early. We'll still make some, but we're focusing on the next stuff. So yeah, I think it seems like a good idea to me. What about you, Gables?
Well, let me clarify a little bit of stuff with the console stuff. I know for a fact that in regards to the reports and stuff that were for the discontinuations for, say, PlayStation 4 systems, I know a lot of this news has been coming out from Japan because I know Sony has went on record in Japan and stating that they are discontinuing the PS4 Pro and basically a couple other models like the Glacier White PS4 and this and that, and they're just leaving the base in regards to that. But
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I kind of felt like this is more or less a good talking point because of the fact that one, we're starting to see similar things happen in the U.S. as well, not just because of the North American Sony website not allowing the option, like Tyler was saying like a couple weeks ago, for ordering the PlayStation 4 Pro, but at the same time, it's like I personally haven't really seen too much of stock either for like the PS4 or the PS4 Pro in that regards, but it makes sense to discontinue the PlayStation 4 Pro right now because it's very redundant when you have a higher end system like the PlayStation 5. At that same point, it would also create a little bit of confusion because then you have like four different SKUs, right? And like the PlayStation 4 Pro doesn't really work inside of that business sense because you have a PS5 that's digital that's cheaper than the PS4 Pro, and then you have the regular physical edition of the PS5 that quintessentially has better specs, has better this and that, only for like what $100 or so more. So
Yeah.
I could see why Sony in and of themselves want to just discontinue that console, but I kind of feel like, and this is a personal opinion, I feel like they're going to discontinue the entirety of the PlayStation 4 this year. That's my initial thoughts and impressions because, for one, there have been high numbers of like shipping in terms of PlayStation 5 consoles, and even reported estimate, I think it was like over 8 million or something, that $8 million from like PS5 consoles sold or that sort. I may not have the most accurate information and stuff, but the PlayStation 5 has been on track to possibly surpass the early goings of the PlayStation 4 from what I've been reading off of like news analysts type of stuff. So I personally feel that the PlayStation 4 console is going to just be discontinued. They're going to fully pull and put everything inside their baskets in terms of putting out the PlayStation 5 and making sure that meets demand, because obviously the PS5 and the Xbox Series X and Series S, those are hot consoles now. They're hot commodity items. They've been ever since they've been launched. Obviously, the second reseller market, like on eBay and on Amazon, their prices are starting to trickle downwards because of how many systems have been going through and popping back up. And also you have a little bit of rumors that possibly late January we're going to be seeing more in terms of PlayStation 5 consoles and Xbox consoles and stuff. So where does that leave like a console like, say, the PlayStation 4 Pro or even like the baseline model? But lastly, I will say it's stuff is if Sony does keep on with it comes to the freaking regular PlayStation 4 console, then yeah, you know, they have that. They have the digital only, and then they have the physical, like PS5, quintessentially. So that makes sense.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, I think when the pre-orders came out and they started talking about how, like, you know, I think Horizon Forbidden West is going to be a PS4, PS5 game. A lot of games are on both consoles. That they did guarantee that they were going to support the PS4 for at least 2 years. So I feel like they'll probably still be producing them until 2022, maybe by the end of by or through 2022. I mean, so for be 2 years, they said. So I don't know. I could see sometime in the next, I would say at the earliest 18 months is when they're going to stop completely on production. But there's so many great games on those consoles. I'm sure they're still selling it somewhat, and it's smart to not abandon that. As much as I'd like personally, selfishly as a PS5 owner, for them to just for Horizon and God of War 2 and all those games to be PS5 only, just 'cause those games will run and look better. I don't blame them from a business perspective of, and also keeping your fans happy of the people that can't get those consoles or can't afford those consoles, to at least put these great games out on them. Yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I think it's a good point though, like you said though, like the fact that it's silly to have a PS4 Pro out there that's $400 when you can get a PS5 digital edition for $400. So, I think that's a big reason why like the Xbox One X they got rid of that as soon as possible because it's $500 and it's like we can't cut the price on this thing anymore. To like where it's worth it, and it's like, or no one's gonna buy a $500 Xbox One X when the Series X is $500, or you can get the Series S for what was it $300. But moving on to some other bit of some PlayStation rumors here. So this comes from Dusk Golem, who I've never heard of before. I'm sure I probably talked about him on the show before, as far as like, because we've talked about like Resident Evil rumors, and there was that Capcom leak not so long ago. But apparently he's like known in the leak game as far as like Capcom, and especially Resident Evil news. So he's been pretty good about those leaks and stuff like that. He's on point most of the time. So he put a tweet out. Someone said. Someone actually had asked them, like, when are we going to hear about Resident Evil 8 Village? Because they promised we'd have an update by the end of 2020. But, or like, there was like it was like September 1st. There's some weird date they had sometime in 2020 that they're going to, like, give us more details. And then COVID happened, and then the day came and went. And then, like, a couple days after that day, Capcom made a statement, like a nothing statement, basically just saying you'll hear from us soon. And I mean, we got more at the PlayStation event, PS5 event back. What was that? September, I want to say. But as far as like a date, there was that leak, the Capcom leak, like a month or so ago, and in there it was saying the plan was for the game to come out in April sometime. Which, so you gotta imagine if that's the case, they're gonna announce something soon. So Dusk Golem here said in a tweet when someone asked him when we can hear about Resident Evil 8. He said, to give a semi-serious answer, Sony has some event planned for the start of the year. For January or February, I won't be surprised if Capcom either did something themselves in January or took part of that due to Sony marketing. So that makes sense. Every time we see Resident Evil 8, it's been every time we've seen really anything with Resident Evil in general since Resident Evil 7, with 7, 2, 3, and now 8, it's been with Sony. It's been at E3s or it's been at their state of plays. Like Resident Evil 3 was revealed at the state of play at the beginning of, I think they had a state of play in like January or February, early February last year, and that's when Resident Evil 3 was announced. That game came out like beginning of April, I want to say. It was a week after Final Fantasy 7 came out, I remember. So it makes sense that that we'll at least get a date. I want that to be true, that there's gonna be a state of play, because I used to love it. Like every January, we'd get those for like a good 3 or 4 years. We'd have a good Nintendo Direct that would like kind of set you up for the first half of the year, and maybe you get a little tease for the second half. But like the first half was pretty much laid out there, and then you have like little directs throughout the rest of that first half, and to get you through E3, and it'd be great, because like you think about it, it's like we don't have, Ratchet and Clank is supposed to be a launch window game. What a launch window means to them, we don't know, but they've said that's the first half of the year. Same with Gran Turismo 7. That's a first half of the year game. So you got to imagine here soon we'll be getting release dates for those. So it makes sense that, I mean, maybe we won't have a state of play, but maybe we'll have something. So I can buy the idea of them being a state of play here in the next 3-4 weeks. What about you, Gables?
I can see that happening as well. It would be interesting to hear something from Sony, especially over the next couple of weeks, considering that, like you just touched upon, We haven't heard any type of release thing for Ratchet and Clank. That's supposed to be like an early release window PS5 game. On top of that, it does make sense considering that this year just started, and it's like it's getting to that point and stuff where someone needs to go and say what's going to be going on in terms of the first half of this year, at least in regards to any
Yeah.
type of PS5 releases. So honestly, I'm taking the news with a grain of salt. This rumor in regards to Resident Evil 8, the village, when essentially it's Resident Evil 8. I don't care what they say, but
Yeah.
but if I had to be a betting man, I probably would say that we probably would maybe get some news in regards to a PlayStation Direct or whatever the heck this week,
State
maybe,
of play.
or State of Play
Oh,
this
okay.
week. I probably would say this week because we have to see sooner or later.
Yeah.
But if not, no big deal. But honestly, if we're already hearing rumors in regards to stuff like that come upon, including like potential spoilers in terms of plot points and whatsoever of the game itself, then we are probably going to be hearing more news about that game sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Yeah. We have to. I mean, someone's got to say something here soon because like everybody's excited about like we think there's gonna be a great slate of games, and there's some good games coming this year that have 2021 release dates and games we assume are 2021 games. But it's like, we don't really know. There's not a lot of concrete stuff this year. It's like, as far as like from the big studios, the big games, like we have Mario 3D World February 12th. Returnal is in, I think, April or March. I think March 15th maybe. And then it's like, that's pretty much it. It's like Persona 5 Strikers. In February, it's like we don't really know a lot as far as like no one's got concrete dates. We just got, Sony's giving us first half, second half of the year, and we don't know anything from Xbox other than fall 2021 for Halo. It's like we got nothing. So yeah, I mean, someone's got to start breaking some news here soon. I think we're all a little more calmer this time around, where it's like that last year we were like, where the fuck's the Nintendo Direct? Where's Mario All Stars? Where's the PS5 news? Where's the Xbox news? It's like, this, we don't have new consoles coming. And I think we're a little more used to it with COVID, and what kind of more of an idea of what's going on as far as, it's like, all right, so things are a little more in flux than they used to be. It's probably shit coming together last minute. We're a little more patient now. We just had a great fall and winter of good games. So now I think we went from like having long stretches of nothing to we just had a great run there for a while. So now it's,
To be honest with you,
everybody's playing catch up.
Well, sorry to cut you off there, but
No, you're fine.
it reminds me of the old days when we would wait for certain game releases or wait for certain news to come upon companies in regards to when we're going to learn about things next. Even like with the COVID stuff and everything else going on and stuff, it's kind of actually sort of relaxing knowing that we don't have all these games like just bombarding you in terms of major releases one after another, like so on and so forth, like the last generation has been. But it's sort of interesting seeing how much more like a laid back approach where people are taking their time with making sure game development's going on, and also in terms of announcements with companies, because I know Sony is probably going to be announcing some possibly soon. I'm just guessing. I don't have any type of sources or anything. But Nintendo still needs to talk about what they have to do with their stuff. But yeah, it's an interesting time right now. But the main focus should be from both Sony and Microsoft is to get as many of those damn consoles out as possible, whether online or retail.
Yeah. And don't put them up every week and sell like 8 of them and then sell out again.
Yeah, really.
It'll suck.
I don't care if they bring out a freaking pallet of consoles, for God's sake. Just put it in the middle of the aisles and say, have at it.
Yeah. Something. Give people a warning. Especially the employees. Give the employees some warning, too. No more scenarios where GameStop tells the public that there's PS5s at GameStop before you tell the employees that work at GameStop that they have PS5s.
God.
That'd be a good idea. That had something that happened like a month ago.
Oof.
But Gables,
Yeah.
that's kind of it for the news. But I thought I have a little fun thing here um, that because kind of some people are talking about, and I didn't realize just how many there are. But this is a fun one I think for both of us, especially you being you're more of a Nintendo guy than I am. Um, that there's a lot more anniversaries, but this is the anniversaries of the bigger stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like people are going nuts about Kid Icarus. It's like the 35th anniversary. I'm like, stop it. So, so we have a few anniversaries this year. We have the 35th anniversary of Metroid and Zelda,
Yeah.
and then also the Pokemon turns 25.
Yeah.
So I remember for the what was it 20th anniversary, they released Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow on 3DS. Um, that was pretty awesome. I remember then.
Okay, the 20th anniversary. I'm trying to remember. That was back around
Yeah, it would have been
2016.
2016.
You know, they not
Yep.
only did that, but they also came out, I think, with Sun and Moon. I want to say it's either that.
Yeah,
or
it was Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. I think
in 2016.
that year is.
I don't
Was
know
it
about that,
2015?
man. Because I thought Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon was like 2018.
You're right. What was 2016 then?
I think 2016 was Sun and. I think it was Sun and
Well,
Moon.
Sun and Moon was the year before Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. Let me look
Oh,
this up.
then maybe
Pokemon
it could have.
2016.
No, it couldn't. Have
Oh,
been
it was Pokemon Go. Remember that?
Well, yeah, that was one of them, but there were mainline games in that regards. But yeah, anyway, you were saying that yeah, it's the 25th anniversary right now for Pokemon, 35 for Metroid and Zelda, and actually the 40th anniversary for Donkey Kong.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, I didn't even catch that one. Um, sorry, I'm looking here.
So obviously,
For,
if you're a Nintendo fan, there's a huge amount of milestones that are coming through this year, and not only that, it's got a bunch of Nintendo fans excited at what the potential announcements could be in terms of these franchises. There's a lot of rumors and speculations going around, not just with the Zelda franchise, not just with like say the Pokemon franchise, but the Metroid franchise as well. As we've heard little tidbits the past couple months in regards to, you know, well, not just a couple of months, maybe the last year and a half or something in terms of Nintendo possibly having like another Metroid game, like besides Metroid Prime 4 in development, you know.
Oh yeah, there's that rumor of the 2D one, right?
Yeah, there was a rumor that it was more akin to say like Super Metroid potentially, which for I know for a fact they've went through and remade the second Metroid game, the Game Boy one on the 3DS a while ago, but yeah, I've heard a little bit of rumors about that, but in regards to all these just an anniversary announcements and stuff, I think it's fairly exciting. But I'm gonna go on a little bit of like a guessing spree, or not just a guessing. I'm gonna make some predictions. I mean, that's always so fun, you know, in terms of this stuff. It correlates with all the Nintendo news that we do have for this week, and also just gonna make things a little bit more interesting, I think. So obviously, the prediction number one. I feel like that, much like with Mario's anniversary last year, we're going to get a compilation of Zelda games for this release. Alongside.
Thinking.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm sorry. I was gonna ask what you're thinking, but you're going into it.
Okay. So here's what I'm thinking. In regards to, say, a Zelda compilation for like the anniversary wise. Now, before in the past, we've had the Master Quest stuff released on GameCube and like a collaboration disc that had not only the first two Zelda games, but also with Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. What we could see, in my honest opinion, we could see like the like a collage of some of the best Zelda games. I'm talking about maybe the first the first three, like say first, second, and Link to the Past, alongside of potentially like oh gosh, I want to say Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask again on the Switch, but as far as say like other details of Zelda games, you know, it's kind of iffy because I could potentially see Nintendo coming out with say like a remastered Skyward Sword, though for the life of me I don't know how they would go through and rework the controls for that game, because that game was heavily implemented with motion controls of the Wii Motion Plus. But I do see Nintendo doing something along those lines of re-releasing Skyward Sword this year for the 35 and whatsoever. But in terms of the compilation disc, like I was mentioning before, I'm thinking that it's going to be a lot of the older Zelda games. So The original Zelda, Zelda 2, Link to the Past, maybe the Game Boy games like the original Link's Awakening, maybe Oracle of Seasons and Ages. I mean, it makes sense in my honest opinion because here you have some of the most coveted, besides like say Ocarina and other future Zelda games past that point. You have the quintessential Zelda games that came out that established that franchise into being a must play for Nintendo consoles. So a collaboration like Switch Cart with those greatest and stuff, I could see that. I could see Skyward Sword being remastered and re-released. But in terms of Pokemon, one of my favorite franchises, even though after Sword and Shield and stuff, yeah, it was sort of like a little bit of a downer. Though aside, even though I did like playing my bits of Pokemon Sword and stuff, I thought that the expansions from like Isle of Armor was kind of a disappointment. I haven't finished the Crown Tundra yet, but at the same point, I kind of feel like with the Pokemon franchise, there has to be some major Pokemon game releasing this year, considering that there wasn't any type of releases last year. So what I'm thinking perhaps we're going to be seeing elements of a remastered Diamond and Pearl. Not because of, say, the timeline purposes, but if you've noticed over the past 10, 15 years of Pokemon, they have remade a whole bunch of the older games. Now, what I'm saying is, in Generation 3, when Ruby and Sapphire were a thing, they remade Red and Green with Fire Red, Leaf Green. They did the same thing with the DS games. You know, with Gen 4 was a thing, they remade Gold and Silver into Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and on the 3DS, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire. So if we have, say, Diamond and Pearl remakes on the Switch, I feel like that's an excellent way of not only enticing older fans from back around when the original games were released back to playing the games in that franchise, but sort of, I kind of feel like that this remake would leave out a lot of the gimmicks of like say Sword and Shield and probably just focus upon like the main aspect of what made Diamond and Pearl great. Because I've heard rumors in regards to how certain plot points may go, or maybe there's going to be certain specific variants or whatsoever that's going to happen. You know, various like variant Pokemon maybe being inside the Diamond and Pearl remakes, but honestly, I kind of feel like that we probably will hear something inside of a remastered like Diamond and Pearl, maybe towards the end of the year, perhaps November, because that's when the Pokemon Company loves to put out a lot of their mainline Pokemon games during that November period, right before the holidays. So that's prediction number 3, I think it was. Yeah. So Zelda compilation thing, a remastered Skyward Sword, and like remaster of freaking Diamond and Pearl for Pokemon. Now, I'm going to have like 2 more predictions. So the next one I would think would be for like Donkey Kong. It's probably going to be something a little bit, it probably will be a little bit more minor in regards to it, even though it's a big anniversary. But I could see Nintendo releasing a Game & Watch of the original Donkey Kong. I mean, hell, sky's the limit. They did the same thing for like the Mario Brothers 1 and 2 for like a classic Game & Watch type of thing. So why not Donkey Kong? And instead of like, say, maybe the NES game, what they could do is maybe they could partner with Microsoft, maybe have like, no, they could partner with Rare. You know, from Microsoft, have them go back and forth since they're kind of on friendly terms now, and maybe release like a, maybe not so much a classic Game & Watch now I think about it, but like something in related to like a collaboration on one handheld device for like Donkey Kong. So I'm saying like maybe have the original Donkey Kong, Donkey Kong 3, and maybe the Donkey Kong Country games with that regards. I could see something like that potentially being announced. I mean, sky's the limit, like I was saying before. Nintendo's partnership with Microsoft does have validity inside of some things. But the last prediction, I would have to say, gosh, you know what? I'm going to say Metroid. And this is probably going to be a big one, because I feel like that we're about due to have something big from the Metroid series. And not big in a sense where it's like Metroid Prime 4, gameplay and this and that. I feel like the Nintendo is going to show a remastered Super Metroid. Now,
Hmm.
Super Metroid is coveted on the Super Nintendo, and not just Super Nintendo, but it's coveted by a lot of old school gamers like myself, because it's quintessentially one of the best games of all time. Give or take what some what some people may say or believe in that regards, but it's a fantastic game. It was one of the games that helped create an entire subgenre. I kind of feel like if I kind of feel like the Nintendo will take the approach that they did with Link's Awakening, and instead of having like a remastered, Link's Awakening, no, excuse me, having remastered Link's Awakening, they could apply the same thing for like a remastered Super Metroid. And could you just see like a quintessential like cell shading, like hyper crisp, maybe partnering like with like not like retro studios? Could you just imagine like say a Yacht Club Games or something like that?
Oh, that'd be
Dude,
good. Yeah.
that would be a fantastic sort of like reveal. But at the same point, it's like I could see them do that, but I really personally would love to see a remastered Super Metroid. If they could do the same for Zelda, I believe that if you want to gain interest inside of a franchise that isn't particularly like a hit, or like not like a hit like in terms of like overall, but like a main console seller, have a fantastic Metroid game that looks awesome, that plays like the original with remastered music and like all the various plot points. Because the thing that made Super Metroid one of the inside the top echelon of one of the best games is because it had a little bit of everything. It had replayability, it had fantastic music, it had fantastic graphical sprite fidelity. You don't even have to make it like a 3D-esque sort of thing, It has to fit in sort of that world in of itself. And if you make it more ambient and you make it more fluid in terms of like pixel creativity, or like how you can mix a whole bunch of different elements together to make it feel like a Aliens theme, sort of like how the original creator of Metroid wanted it to be, then I feel like that would entice more people to play. So yeah, that's my final prediction. Super Metroid being remade.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I was, I was listening to a podcast, and I didn't even know about this, but I guess there are rumors of a Diamond and Pearl remake.
Yep.
Out there, which I'm sure for the hardcore is a big deal. I'm a little bummed out by that, being more of a fan of the older stuff. Even though I really got into Shield at the end of 2019 and really enjoyed that game. Yeah, I never did. I think Diamond. I bought Diamond when it came out on DS, but that was like I was pretty much out of Pokemon at that point, and
Right.
never really got into it. But
I
I was always holding out hope for that Let's Go Gold and Silver kind of thing.
Well, who knows? Maybe that could potentially be a thing. It's you can't really rule it out.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I don't. Even though those games did sell, Pikachu and Eevee did sell really well, but like Sword and Shield blew those games out of the water. So as far as sales, so I'm wondering if that's a priority for them to go back to that idea. I mean, I'd also like to have, as much as using the Pokeball bothered me, I'd still like to have a reason to more of a reason to play it together than that one time.
Well, in terms of like say how Pokemon Sword and Shield really performed, even with a lot of the critiques that people had and certain gamers had, which they are valid complaints. They didn't include all the different Pokemon in terms of like that big old Pokedex and everything else. At the same time,
Yeah.
I feel that if they went the route of a Diamond and Pearl remake, like rumors have been suggesting, that you would give your fans access to having all those different Pokemon in there from the get-go. And not just that.
Yeah.
And if they're not going to do that, just limit it to what it was back then for Diamond and Pearl. Because even if you don't have, even if you can't get, all 800 plus Pokemon, all their variants, and all this other crap inside the game, at least have it to be where it was back in the day in 2007, that's how initially I played that game, by the way, on DS. But I really hope they go the route of Platinum, because I do not blame you, Tyler, for not getting into Diamond and Pearl back then, because there's a couple of things about Diamond and Pearl that were actually corrected and made better inside of Platinum. One being the pace of the game, which is slow and methodical in regards to it. The story was more concise, and plus the selection of Pokemon in terms of getting through the game at a much better rate was definitely improved upon. So hopefully they would go the platinum route.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully just call it Diamond and Pearl, but it's really just Platinum.
Yeah.
I think Pokemon Snap 2 was supposed to be a 2020 game until COVID happened, so I think we're gonna
Right.
see Pokemon Snap 2 probably
Almost definitely.
sooner rather than later. Yeah, I feel like that game's gonna be here, and that I feel like in the next 3 months we'll be playing that game. Honestly,
Dude, we're probably gonna be hearing a whole bunch of things about the Pokemon games that were released, including the ones that we think are kind of lame duck ones, like the Pokemon Sleep and like all the other stuff. I could see that potentially be like a mini direct for Pokemon maybe soon. But
yeah,
yeah, we still need to hear more about Pokemon Snap 2, how that's gonna work and everything. I mean, Pokemon Sleep, the other Pokemon games that they had released or announced for
Pokemon
mobile.
Toothbrush.
Yeah, that whole Candy Crush style.
Um, yeah. So I think in the next few months we'll be playing that game. Maybe that's wishful thinking, but I don't feel like I'm too far off. I think for like Metroid, we will get the trilogy this year.
Oh,
I
that'd be
think
nice.
the rumors that game's been done for a long time now, and that was the case with like the Pikmin 3 game, where like Deluxe with that game had been done, just sitting on a computer somewhere for months before they finally just released it. They're just kind of waiting for empty dates to fill games in at. So I feel like they've been holding off on that game for feels a couple years now. So I think we'll finally get that this year. It makes sense. And I don't think we'll get Metroid Prime 4 this year, but we'll finally see something. Not going to put a timeline on it, but outside of this year, we will see something for Metroid Prime 4. And maybe, we'll get that 2D rumors that we'll find out about that. And then for Zelda, I think Breath of the Wild 2 will be the big game for November for them. I don't think it's going to be an early 2020 game like we all had hoped. I think COVID pretty much took that away from us. But I think we will get a Zelda HD collection with Twilight Princess and Wind Waker. I think we'll get that. And they will bundle it together for $60. They won't separate it. I think if we do, I'm not saying we will. I'm not trying to predict it, but if we do get a Skyward Sword, sorry, Zelda game on the Switch, it will use Joy-Cons. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think if we do, they just redid it with Joy-Cons. And Gables, maybe this is my pie in the sky thing here. Maybe this is my reach for the stars thing here. There's 2 Zelda games that I really wanted to play when I was younger, and I just never got around to. I just never got a chance to play them. Like by the time I really got into Zelda with like Link to the Past, like on Game Boy Advance and stuff like that, I just never got around to playing them. I want maybe not the same art style as Link Awakening, but give it a new coat of paint. Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages.
Oh
on
yeah.
the Switch.
Well,
I don't know if it's gonna be a full remake, but maybe a remaster, or maybe we just put them out. But I think we're gonna see a lot of collections this year. I don't think we'll get that Link to the Past one because the Switch Online, they want you to get that thing. But I think I could definitely see us like getting like a pack with like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask on it and stuff like that. I think we'll see some stuff like that, or maybe we'll just get the 64 on Switch Online, and that'll be the big selling point, is like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask on that day one.
If there's anything that can be said about this year for Nintendo, is that the past sells. And with anything that they're going to go through and announce this year, Nintendo doesn't have to do much. People who are fans of Nintendo will eat it up, no matter if it being a collection disc for Zelda, whether it be like, say, adding the Nintendo 64 or maybe even Game Boy games onto that online thing for Switch, maybe hiking up the cost of the yearly thing because of that. Because that's the best thing about that Switch's online service. It's not playing the games online. It's freaking getting access to that NES and SNES app and playing those hodgepodge games. That's the key ticket.
Yeah, I would love it if they just put like the Game Boy games on there, because it just makes sense. But like I remember playing Minish Cap for the first time on the Wii U, and I played it primarily on my gamepad. I want to say like 2015, and I just had a blast with that game. It was a great game. I played like over a decade after it came out. Still a really good game. So I don't know. I've always wanted to I always wanted to play the Game Boy, the Link's Awakening, but gosh. I didn't want to play. I've always wanted to check it out, and then finally checking it out. Yeah, it was fine. But Oracle Ages and Seasons are two that just those are like my glaring holes as far as like to me personally. I don't like Skyward Sword. I know a lot of people say, "Ooh, it's there's a lot of defenders of that game." Justin, that's all I'm gonna say, just Justin. But yeah, I know a lot of people don't like that game, and it's it's one of those games that's like you either love it or you don't. So I don't. I probably if Skyward Sword did, I thought I said Skyrim, but I did not. I got upset with myself because I thought I said the wrong thing, but I didn't. But I still check it out. I want to check it out. Like I've always told Justin, like if they put that Super Mario Galaxy and Skyward Sword were able to play with a controller, I'll check them out, and I will. But I need to get back to Galaxy. That's actually just thinking about that now. But yeah, those are kind of my predictions. I'm hopeful for a lot of those. I mean, I think we'll get probably get a sneak peek at the next big Pokemon game. I don't think we're gonna get. I don't think we're gonna get like the was it Gen 10, Gen 9. The next one will be. I don't think
that's the thing. We're getting rumors
I don't think it'll be this year.
Potential thing for Gen 9, but it's way too soon for Gen 9. It makes sense if they did like a remake.
Yeah. I mean, especially because they kind of took an off year this year, and just gave us more DLC. So now we'll probably have a remake this year. Yeah, it's usually how it works out with them. It's like you kind of wrote. I think they're kind of doing the Assassin's Creed thing where it's like we get like for a long time they do one every year, but it's like for Pokemon it was like remake, and then new one, remake, new one. I think maybe last year was like that break.
Yeah,
that we see now Assassin's Creed where you take a year off, 2 years in a row, you get a Assassin's Creed game.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing, man. It's like people have lost, hadn't realized, especially for Pokemon fans, that the Pokemon Company had been releasing a mainline Pokemon game from, I want to say, 2010, since 2010 all the way up till last year. Every year, it felt like. It didn't matter whether or not it was say, well, let's see, what was it? They had Diamond and Pearl inside of 2007, and it didn't take until a couple of years later, around 2009, was I think it was Platinum, or 2010, I'm not sure now. But since Pearl's release, actually, it's been a mainline Pokemon game every year since 2020. So yeah, it's kind of felt nice last year not having something major in terms of the announcement. And since they went with the whole Crown Tundra and Isle of Armor type of thing. But yeah, it's definitely feeling like there's going to be a mainline Pokemon game released this year.
Yeah. So I don't know. Could be a really great year for Nintendo. But I mean, I feel like that's kind of been the case for them pretty much every year since 2017. So I think it's going to do it for the news part of it. We've been off for a couple weeks. Gables, have you had a chance to play any games in that time?
I have, actually.
Okay.
Now, I do play a lot of different games on different systems, but what I had been mostly trying out was there were a couple of games that were made available because of Games with Gold, and I decided to download King of Fighters 13, which is an old 360 PS3 game. However, it is one of the best inside of that series, from what I was told. I went ahead, I was playing through it, I decided to go with the default team, which revolves around 3 mainline protagonists of King of Fighters. I want to say, I'm guessing at this point, because I always thought the Fatal Fury team was, but I guess it wasn't. But anyway, I was messing around in terms of King of Fighters 13 one night after downloading it, and I was like, okay, I'm going to use the team here of Kyo, Daimon, and Benimaru, which they're quintessentially have a balanced fighter, a mostly striker, and they have more of a grappler in that regard. So the balance is really nice, in my honest opinion. I go through that. I'm having a fun time, and all of a sudden I get to the final set of battles with the boss battle, and this is where the game started to kick my ass a bit. Because up until then, I'm fairly confident playing fighting games. However, when it comes to final bosses in certain fighting games, especially SNK fighting games, they could be tricky. I lost to this one of the last bosses of King of Fighters 13, and this is the arcade mode I was playing through, by the way. I didn't touch the story mode yet, if I feel like it. But there was this one fighter that kept on grabbing me, right? And the animation is so slow when he goes to try to hit you that literally every time that I try to get in on him to do a close range damage or a close range like strike or poke or whatever the hell, I kept getting into this animation where he just grabs me and then he just starts repeatedly punching me like 4 times, lets go of me. It took about the third attempt of trying to take him down until I had to realize that, you know what, I'm going to try a different way. So what did I do? I started doing jump hard kicks, and I started dashing over to him and do a hard kick, then back away and just try to poke at him a little bit until finally I did take him down eventually with my team. But afterwards, I went with the final boss of the arcade mode for King of Fighters 13. And yeah, this one, oh man, this one's a cheap shot artist to be sure. Talking about certain attacks that take away almost near half your meter. Whew, your health meter, like with certain combos that take away half, man, it's always a difficulty spike, it feels like, when it comes to SNK fighting games. When you get to that final boss and you feel like you're just about to win, all of a sudden the boss hits you with a string of combos that take out almost your entire health bar, it feels like. And I'm like, well, god damn. It didn't take me as long as the previous battle, though, because I went ahead and I did a little pattern with taking on the boss with crouching light attacks, like crouching light kick into heavy kick, or even like crouching like light kick, and then all of a sudden combo it into like a couple heavy punches or like a medium punch or whatsoever into whatever type of EX move I want to do. I did have a fun, hilarious moment during that final boss when the boss comes and lunges at me, right? And I went through and I finally executed my ultimate attack as Kyo against him, and it pretty much annihilated the rest of the guy's bar, and I'm like, holy crap, that was an awesome counter. But yes, King of Fighters 13, this is an underrated fighting game to be sure. It's on Steam. It is on the 360 and the PS3. As of this moment, I've actually played it. I've played this game now on PS3 when it was made available on PlayStation Plus, and now Games with Gold. So, this is such a funny time. This is such a funny moment for me because this is another instant of a game I played on one platform and now the other platform. But it just tells you how fun the game is that I want to play it on multiple systems, even though it's like 2 systems of the same generation. But other games, I had played a little bit of Forza 3 because, just wanted to drive around, get a couple events done, do this and do that. Turn on the Switch. Actually, I turned on my Switch yesterday because I wanted to download the demo for Monster Hunter Rise, which apparently throughout the time that it was released, at one point made the eShop crash because it was such a popular download.
Yeah. Yeah, it ruined everything.
I think that's pretty hilarious, honestly. But I went in late that night and I did download the demo. Now, once I downloaded it, I had a chance to play a little bit of the tutorial stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay, this limits about kind of similar to how certain 3DS demos had, where you had like maybe 30 tries of the game before if you want to try through on different options or different things. When you go through the selection screen with a tutorial, it gives you options of like maybe 8 to 10 different classes. And so I look at each one of them, I'm like, hey, these are kind of varied. I kind of like the way they like certain weapons that they're using. So let's go ahead and pick the first one, which is like the Great Swordsman. I go through the first tutorial. It's one of those characters where he has a giant sword and a heavy attack. And you need to time his heavy attack just right, or else the monsters are going to speed right past and just evade you like the Dickens, man. It was just like a fun time going for like one of the missions against this one raptor looking creature. And then it hits me. It's like, well, now I understand why it takes a lot of time for me to get into a Monster Hunter game. Because not only are the fights kind of drawn out, but it's also you have to micromanage your inventory and also make sure you have a lot of different items available, a lot of different type of button combinations. So the first entire hour or two of me playing this demo involved me having to figure out, okay, let's hold the L button so I can go with the X or the A button in order to go through the menus and then select this one item so I can press Y in order to use a potion. I'm like, oh god, no. Cumbersome, yes, but it's not impossible. I mean, there are Monster Hunter players that have gotten used to that aspect of it. The gameplay wise was pretty fun. I did have my initial fun as a great swordsman, but I switched it up with like a character with a sword and like a sword and a shield. So I made him kind of like a because I wanted to play as a character that's sort of like balanced in that way to get a better feel, an introductory character class pretty much. So I decided to do the tutorial stuff for what was it? It was actually getting monsters and like riding them, the wyvern riding stuff. I understood I understood exactly what they wanted me to do, but I kind of felt that there were some instances that kind of felt sort of hard for me to actually go and ride the monster in and of itself. But let me tell you, once you actually capture the monster, start riding the monster around, and then you have the options of either attacking other monsters and or just launching them into a wall or launching them into other monsters, it felt freaking awesome. And I'll tell you another thing that felt freaking awesome: the wire bug. Inside this Monster Hunter Rise, one of their main gimmicks is they want you to go through the terrain, do through the environments as quick as possible, quintessentially. So you got a number amount of wire bugs that you can hold at a time. At one moment, I had like about 3 wire bugs on me, so that allowed me to zip to different places, like one of those characters off Attack on Titan, just like
Hmm.
going through the air, taking out like certain enemies. And if you use a wire bug in combination, say with a with your weapon, there's like an option you can do like a special attack, and that will help damage the enemy and this and that. On these missions, you do have a couple of companions with you. You have a dog and like a cat that basically act like support in regards to doing attacks or doing buffs or doing this and that. I kind of like that option because you have like 2 helpers, 2 supporter characters that'll help you set up different types of things for your character depending upon what type of build you want to make. And honestly, it felt really good playing this game. My only gripe is the missions and everything else was pretty short in that regards. But this is definitely the sort of demo you're going to want to play over and over because you want to try all the different classes, you want to try all the different combinations you can do, what type of special attacks will be for that wire bug. And I got to admit, this is probably, in my honest opinion, March can't come soon enough. This is going to be one of those games that's going to be standing out for the Switch this year. And I honestly feel like that could be a potential hit for Capcom because it's like the game moves fast. It has that same sort of Monster Hunter style of action, but at the same time, it doesn't feel overly complicated. It feels like you can go and attack monsters and collect a lot of different things. Sure, you're going to have to go and navigate through menus in order to increase the dull, make your weapon sharp or do a bunch of different potions or set exploding barrels or this or that. But yeah, it's definitely the kind of game that makes you think on your feet, but once you get that down, all the action stuff, you can actually have a great time with this game. And the demo does support online. So if you have a friend or anything else, you could try that with them and see how that works for you. But yeah, I really had a positive experience with that. But yeah, other than that, I had been playing the most recent DLC for Dragon Ball Fighters, which include the DLC Pass 3, which includes 5 characters alongside of all the different stamps and other things that were available. So as of right now, there's like 3 out of the 5 that are available, with Super Baby 2 going to be released around the 15th or the 16th. And for those that are listening at home, it's basically a villain character from Dragon Ball GT, that series. But I had a chance to try Kefla, one of the characters from Dragon Ball Super, alongside Ultra Instinct Goku and Master Roshi. I absolutely loved playing all 3 of them. And I'll tell you why. Kefla, she has these different attacks that are super quick, super they can actually be very, oh god, focused in regards to certain combos that you want to execute. I love her like specials that can definitely combine into one another. So there's like one move like a gigantic ray into like a gigantic like this or that. So you can do like a level 1 into like a level 3 super very easily when you do a specific combo. And just going through a lot of these combos with all three of the characters was a blast, especially for like Master Roshi. And for Master Roshi, he is almost entirely different than any other character in regards to Dragon Ball Super, because he's not like some of the other baseline characters like a Goku or Vegeta that can go and fly through the air and do this or do that. No, he has something called a Master Leap, to where he can do the same type of like light attack into like a specific combo though. But when you go to like a super dash or something like that, he just leaps across the screen and you can go and combo into different moves. But I did love references that some of his attacks had. Like, there's this move that he does, like the Evil Containment Wave. If you're a fan of, like, the original Dragon Ball, the Evil Containment Wave is quintessentially a technique that Master Roshi learns from his old sensei, Master Mutai Ito, in terms of containing Evil King Piccolo from back in the day. But, that's a little bit of Dragon Ball stuff I wasn't intended to go into. But another one, this last one, is called the Great Kamehameha, where he just grows bulky and stuff like that and just, like, shoots his Kamehameha blast over and this and that. But yeah, it's just a bunch of the techniques and a bunch of like, the random combinations I felt were very unique for Roshi as a character. But when it comes to, say, overpowered characters, Ultra Instinct Goku is definitely the most overpowered character of the three, because quintessentially you get to actually skip certain fighters' supers. Now, here's what I'm referring to. For Dragon Ball FighterZ, all the characters have level 3 supers. And avoiding something like that, especially for some of the top echelon characters, it's incredibly difficult if you get comboed into and stuff. Ultra Instinct Goku can actually do a technique, right, where it can bypass, some of the hitting stuff of these level 3s. Which honestly, after watching some bit of footage and also trying out the technique for myself, makes a hell of a lot of sense why he's one of the most used characters right now on their competitive side. But yeah, his techniques are awesome. He's very fun to play. He has easy techniques to learn. And on top of that, it's like you can combo into his level 3 just super simple, super easily. But so far, this DLC pass has been really fun. And I can't wait to go through and try the characters out, like on the specific arcade routes and stuff, or develop certain combos. And yeah, that's what I've been playing. Tyler?
Nice.
How about you?
Not too much. Time's been a little strict for gaming time, and I've just been like in the mood for like dumb comedies lately. I don't know why. Just watching a lot of those in the time I do have every night. But I played a few. I don't know, I didn't mention it on the last shows we did, but I told you for the shows that I bought the DLC for Destiny 2, not the newest one, not Beyond Light, but I bought Forsaken and was it Shadowkeep?
Yes.
Is the other one. I bought both of those. They're on sale for like $8 each. So I bought those. I played through a good chunk of Forsaken. I think I'm like step 20 of 27 it said, or something like that.
Yes.
So a good chunk way through it. At first I was flying through it, and there's a few missions there where I was just like, I'm not enjoying this, and I've kind of fallen off a little bit since. But it's been a fun little game to jump into, and like, when I just want to play games for 30, 40, 45 minutes, I'll just jump in and knock on a mission or two of those. So it's kind of a slow grind through it right now, more than just jumping in and flying through it. But really enjoying it. I like. I wish there was a little more story beats through it. Like there was a lot in the beginning, with it. This is the one where like Cade 6 is murdered, and
right.
You're going to kill the guy that killed him. So I wish there was more story beats, because like the first like few missions you have a lot of cutscenes, and their cutscenes are beautiful, and I what they do with that engine is great, and I wish there was a little bit more throughout. It's kind of sprinkle in, like you have some conversations and stuff here and there, but I just wish a little little more in depth with it. You know, would kind of keep me going. I think a little more. The other game I played is Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Mm-hmm.
I put about 7 hours into it, and it didn't click for me. It's just it didn't. It's just like I realized after a certain point, I'm like, it's like I'm sure maybe if I put 20 hours into it, it'd click for me. But it's like I don't have the time for that, and I don't really want to do that anyways. It's like there's been games like that before where it's like at a certain point, you put a bunch of hours and it's clicked, and I didn't really liking them. But it's like with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, it's like I didn't really, it's like I always talked about like I didn't care for, like I thought the world was nice and all that, but it's like really what it was that sold me on the game was the characters and the story. I liked the story. I loved. I always forget her name.
Cassandra.
The main girl. Cassandra. Thank you. I don't know how you never played the game and yet you know her name, but I don't. I don't understand. I put like 40 hours into it. You always, every time I forget her name, you remind me. I don't know why, but I loved her story. I liked her a lot. Like I didn't really. Her brother Alios, I think was his name. He was just like a bland, male star we've seen in every generic, game ever.
Right.
And Cassandra's like character was like. She's witty, she's smart, she's got good comebacks. Like I think the big difference was like the voice acting, where it felt like they just grabbed the every man to play the voice acting for the male part, and like I don't know who they got for the woman, but she was great. She even got nominated for I don't think she won, but remember she got nominated for best voice actor that year, and she deservedly so. But what really carried me through that game was that story and those when her character and like. Her interactions with people, like I really liked it. Her being a smartass, just she can be serious, be a smartass. It was just she was witty. I enjoyed it. And this one, I just you can play male or female. And you can jump back and forth at any point between being a male or female. You can also do a third option. I just let it pick for me, and it picked the female Ivor. So that's just what I went with. And like I played a little bit with the male, and I'm just like, all right, it's just you got the every man, you got the every woman to play this. Like, there's no life to the characters. And it's also like when playing Odyssey, like you're playing in Greece, like it's so colorful and vibrant and it's beautiful. And it's like this one you're playing in like Norway and England, and it's just like, first off, I've been to England a fucking 100,000 times already. I don't want to go to Europe anymore. Norway, it's just it's gray and it's cold and it's winter, and it's like I'm living that right now. It's fucking Iowa and it's winter. Like I don't need that. But I don't really care. I don't think the story is all that interesting. And I think another thing that really hurts it is like after playing Ghost of Tsushima, it's like that was my big thing talking about it at that when Ghost came out initially. It was like this is the Assassin's Creed game that I always wanted. I think a lot of people wanted. It's like being in Japan, and also it's just like combat in that game is so good, like that how it works with like the stances and how fast it can get. And all the weapons you get with it as well. It's like it's the perfect Assassin's Creed game for what I want. And it's just like playing that and then going in playing this, and it's like it's so slow, like you're playing with an axe, and it's just like and it's more I don't know. And the combat's just it's very hack and slashy, and it's just like it's not great. It's like I don't care. Ivor is a very boring, bland character. The world's it's not. I'm not saying it's not beautiful. Like the graphics are great, but it's like I don't know. The world just doesn't stand out. It's just I don't know. It did not connect with me in any way, and it's just like I put a good chunk of time into it. I did very little side quests. I just wanted to like get into like because like even really so I don't really care for the side quests. It's like as much as I really enjoy the Assassin's Creed games, I've talked about it before. I was like I'm just so burnt out on Ubisoft games because there's different series, but they're all the same game in a way. They're all same. The formats are the same. It's just the setting and whether or not it's a shooter or a hacker or assassin.
Well, yeah, they've used the same sort of formula, the Assassin's Creed stuff, in other parts of their game. I mean, for God's sakes, games like Ghost Recon Wildlands is a good example. They use the same type of like formula and structure and like collection things that they did, like say for Assassin's Creed 2 and like games like Ghost Recon Wildlands, like the other Assassin's Creed games like Watch Dogs, in that regards. And it's like I can understand why you feel burnt out, because quintessentially you're playing the same formula of games with a different paint and different setting and story, quintessentially.
Yeah, and some of those settings get you. Like I said, Odyssey, Watch Dogs 2. Like, there's definitely like Far Cry 3 and 4, like those games. But it's like the last few I played outside of Odyssey have just been, like Far Cry 5 didn't connect for me. I'm not interested at all in Far Cry 6. It's like I thought the Division games were stuck out, but it's more just the third person shooter part I like about it than anything. But it's like, yeah, you look at every single one. It's like, the Ghost Recon games, the Watchdog game, you have a drone that flies around, you can scout. And the Assassin's Creed games, you have a bird that scouts for you. And it's just like there's just a million things in the map, so it's overwhelming and kind of gives you anxiety. It's like I feel like I should, it kind of, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It just didn't connect with me, and it's like I try to get into it. I've seen that from a lot of people. Like I'm in a couple other like Facebook groups, and it's like I see that game has popped up a lot in conversations where it's just like people talking about, like, I've seen some people like put 150 hours in platinum in the game and they just adore it. And I've seen some people, it's like, I put 20 hours in this game. It's just not connected for me. And I feel like there's like, it's just one of those games. It's if you love the Ubisoft map games, this, it's more of that. If you're like me, like just wants to play good Assassin's Creed games, I don't really feel like it's one of those. And if you want a good Assassin's Creed game, just go play Ghost of Tsushima. Because it's fun. As I'm playing this, like, it's making me want to do two things. Well, three things. One, stop playing this game. Two, I just want to go back and do more Ghost of Tsushima. Three, because it's really based it talks a lot about Norse mythology. I really just want to go replay God of War, which I started doing. I put like 8 hours into God of War again. So I'm just doing New Game Plus on God of War.
Oh, I hate that, man. When it's like, when you're playing a game and there's like elements and themes that make you want to play other games instead of the game you're playing, man, that's always been a pet peeve of mine with that regards.
Yeah.
But like, to answer your question...
oh, man. Go ahead.
Sorry about that, Tyler. To answer your question earlier in regards to the voice actress for Cassandra, I think it was, if I'm reading this correctly, Milisanthi Mahut? Like, that's basically what the voice actress for Cassandra was for Odyssey.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. She was fantastic. Oh, yeah, and you reminded me. I went back and I looked up. Sun and Moon came out in 2016. So
okay.
Ultra Sun and Moon was 2017. That's pretty much all I've been playing. And then like just fell deep into God of War again. So, I'm also, and like I've honestly I've done a lot of deep dive YouTube videos people talking about God of War 2 and like conspiracy theories and like all that. Like I am,
oh my
like
God.
I'm like that, like that, that alien meme where the guy's like aliens and his hair's all spiked up and shit. That's me with God of War 2 theories right now, where I'm just like, I've just been, when God of War, after I played God of War 1, I went like deep dive into Norse mythology. I want to learn more about it. And then I've gone deep dive into like Norse, because like there's little changes to Norse mythology and God of War than for like the main mythology. And I've just been fascinated by that. And it's just like a lot of people like, there's a lot of YouTube videos out there. And my algorithm now is like it's Game Grumps and God of War theories at this point. So
oh my God.
It's nuts. That's all I've been playing is more of that. So, but it's nice being back. It's been it was nice having a week off there from recording, but I was still like, oh man, I was like, oh man, okay, I can't wait to talk about this. I'm like, oh wait, no, we're not recording this week. It's like you miss doing it, but it's also nice having that little bit of break from it. So it was nice, feel recharged, feel good. And I can't wait. It's 2021 now for us. We've already put out a couple episodes this year, but we recorded those last year. So it's nice, new year. Can't wait. It's gonna be hopefully be a much better year than 2020. Maybe not for 2020 was a great year for video games, but everything else sucked.
Yeah.
So hopefully 2021's better. We have a great year in video games, more importantly, a better world in 2021. So thank you guys so much for listening with us over the years and all that fun jazz. 2020 was our biggest year yet for downloads. We had a big jump there that second half of the year, so that was awesome. I really appreciate. We both really appreciate you listening to us, giving us a chance, and I hope you guys really enjoy it. Enjoy what we've done, and hope you guys enjoy what we're doing and continue to do. Going into this will be our 8th year, I think. Yeah, eighth year. So yeah, pretty crazy. But yeah, thanks again so much for listening. I was your host. I was Tyler.
And I have been Colonel Gables. So until next time, everyone, I want to wish you guys well in whatever you're doing. I also want to congratulate the Cleveland Browns fans.
Yeah.
I want to congratulate them because, wow, the Cleveland Browns beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 48-37. Congratulations, Dog Pound.
Yeah. First. Go ahead. Sorry.
Anyway, Tyler, go ahead. You can do that.
I was gonna say it's their first road playoff win since 1969.
That is incredible. That just shows how special that team is.
Yeah,
So
my parents weren't even born yet.
Oh my god, dude. But yeah, just want to say congratulations to the Cleveland Browns fans and stuff. Well deserved. I mean, hell, if it's not for the whole COVID stuff, they'd be celebrating in the streets. Mm-hmm. But anyways, thank you everybody for listening to another fun-filled episode of the Drunk Dash Nerds podcast.
And hey, Gables.
Yeah.
Too sweet.
Too sweet, man.
Bye, guys.
See ya.